Can somebody please explain to me this obsession with RFK that leftists seem to have? And for the record, before we get started, I classify myself as a leftist. I don't talk about it very often on this platform because most of the time I try to stick to numbers, but when it comes to my beliefs, those are my beliefs. I'm very, very critical of capitalism. I strongly oppose everything that Israel is doing in Palestine. I strongly would support universal basic income, etc. I am a leftist. Now that we got that out of the way, and you know that I'm not talking about a group of other people, you know that I'm talking about the group that I most closely identify with. What is our obsession with RFK? It's not the fact that he can't win an election because he's a third-party candidate, and mathematically that just does not work. I've covered that in the last video. You can click on this comment and go watch that video. But even if you want to be super delusional and think that a third-party candidate can win, or if you just want to vote with your conscience because you can't vote for either Biden or Trump, at some level, I understand that. But why RFK? I would like somebody to explain this to me, please, because the biggest complaint that I've been seeing from leftists of Biden is his stance on Israel, which is a very valid complaint. But if they cared so much about Palestine, then they would also look up to see that RFK supports Israel's attack on Palestine as well. In fact, every article that I've read on the topic shows that Kennedy agrees with Israel's actions in Gaza right now. So the people that are saying that Israel is committing genocide and they want to vote for RFK because they can't vote for genocide, they're voting for genocide. But that's not it. That's not the extent of it. Most leftists also say that they're voting for RFK because they're anti-capitalist, and both Donald Trump and Joe Biden are very capitalist. And when you look at the funding from Joe Biden, it shows that, obviously. Security and investment companies, lawyers and law firms, real estate companies, the list goes on. Business services is down here. But when you look at where RFK's money is coming from, it's the same thing. Look, security and investment companies, business services, real estate, pharmaceutical companies is even down here with RFK. He is a capitalist. And here's, to me, where things get really weird. Because RFK has all the same problems that Biden has, and he also has more. When we're comparing RFK and Biden, Biden believes that vaccines are helpful, when RFK does not. RFK also thinks that vaccines cause autism. Like, really? Leftists are gonna be voting this way? He's also anti-immigration. He believes that undocumented immigrants should be stopped at the border and we should use more force to deter them. Like, he's more conservative about immigration policies and really every policy than Biden is. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Biden. I've disagreed with countless things that Biden has done and Biden has said during his campaign and during his administration. But because I care enough about Palestinian lives to do research on the topic, I know that Kamala Harris has been calling for a ceasefire since this whole thing started. This is an article from December. And Donald Trump, of course, says that he's the best friend that Israel has ever had. Like, Donald Trump is a super supporter of Israel. So if we shut our eyes really tightly and pretend that we have three options, one of those three options, which is RFK, supports Israel, doesn't believe in vaccines. He's super capitalist. He wants more punishment and deterrent for undocumented immigrants, etc. Then you have Donald Trump, which is all of Donald Trump. I don't even have to say any of that because everybody watching this video knows. And then we have Biden, who leftists don't want to vote for because he's a capitalist and he supports Israel. So they'll literally look at RFK and all of that stuff, and then look at two similarities that Biden has with RFK and say, it's bad when Biden does it. And I agree that those two things are bad. Those two things I am very critical of when examining Biden as a president. But that doesn't mean that they're good if somebody else does it. That's not what that means. Those things are bad. They're bad no matter who does it. Just because RFK is doing it doesn't make it okay. Now, if you really believe in RFK's policies, if you really believe that he is truly the better out of all three, and somehow you believe that he can win, even though the math says otherwise, I can't tell you who to vote for. I am not telling you don't vote for RFK. You should vote for whoever you want to vote for. But, considering all of this, can somebody please explain at least a little bit why leftists will say, oh, they're not going to vote for Biden or Trump because they don't want to vote for big politics. They don't want to vote for the big government. They don't want want to vote for the establishment. They don't want to vote for the institution. They don't want to vote for generational wealth, etc. So they'll vote for a Kennedy.